Exciting twists and Rafe's daring rescue mission. Welcome back to the Days of Our Lives channel. Today we will dive into the thrilling developments surrounding Tate and Rafe's high-stakes rescue operation, where every clue could mean the difference between salvation and peril for two beloved young women. In the bustling town of Salem, where secrets simmer beneath the surface, Tate Black uncovers a pivotal hint that draws him closer to Police Commissioner Rafe Hernandez. This unexpected connection sparks a chain of events that could unravel the mystery of the missing girls. Meanwhile, Javi Hernandez grapples with heart-wrenching news that shakes his world, forcing him to confront the fragility of family bonds in the face of uncertainty. As whispers of danger spread through the community, Javi's reaction highlights the emotional toll such crises take on even the strongest individuals, reminding viewers of the deep familial ties that define life in Salem. Gabby Hernandez, ever the resilient force, shares the alarming details of Ariana Horton's sudden vanishing with her cousin Javi. In a moment of vulnerability, she recounts the harrowing circumstances leading up to the disappearance, painting a vivid picture of a mother's worst nightmare. Javi, drawing from his own experiences of loss and resilience, steps up to offer solace, wrapping Gabby in words of encouragement that echo through their shared heritage. He reminds her of past triumphs over adversity, like the time the Hernandez family banded together during a previous town scandal, infusing hope into an otherwise bleak situation. With a gentle touch and unwavering optimism, Javi lifts Gabby's spirits, envisioning a swift resolution where Rafe Hernandez emerges as the hero. He imagines Rafe navigating the shadowy underbelly of Salem with his trademark determination, perhaps even coordinating with local allies in unexpected ways. Javi's hopes extend beyond mere rescue, dreaming of a family reunion filled with laughter and relief, where Ari and her friend Holly Jonas return unscathed to the arms of their loved ones. This vision serves as a beacon for Gabby, helping her cling to positivity amid the storm. Previously, Gabby found a surprising confidant in Xander Kyriakis, portrayed by the charismatic Paul Telfer, whose rough exterior hides a surprisingly supportive nature. Their conversations, often laced with Xander's dry humor and tales from his adventurous past, provided Gabby with a temporary shield against despair. Now, as the narrative shifts, it's Javi's opportunity to step into that role, bringing his unique blend of empathy and practical advice. He might suggest small rituals, like lighting a candle for Ari or sharing old family stories, to keep Gabby's mind from spiraling into darkness. The mere idea of permanently losing Ari overwhelms Gabby, evoking memories of previous heartaches in Salem's turbulent history. She paces the familiar rooms of her home, her thoughts racing through worst-case scenarios, from hidden hideouts in the town's abandoned warehouses to the involvement of shadowy figures from the past. This fear gnaws at her, amplified by the quiet moments when doubt creeps in, making every passing hour feel like an eternity. Yet, Gabby's inner strength, forged through years of trials, begins to resurface, pushing her to channel her anxiety into action, perhaps by rallying more friends to join the search efforts. Turning to Monday's gripping episode of Days of Our Lives, Ari and Holly's bold bid for freedom meets a crushing setback. The two resourceful teens, drawing on their wits and the makeshift tools around them, like a loose nail or a forgotten piece of wire, attempt to outmaneuver their captors in a tense sequence filled with whispered plans and narrow escapes. However, their efforts are thwarted by unforeseen obstacles, such as a locked door that refuses to budge or an alert guard patrolling nearby, leaving them disheartened but not defeated. According to the latest spoilers, Holly and Ari find themselves still trapped in their dimly lit confinement, a stark contrast to the vibrant streets of Salem they long to return to. The air is thick with tension as they share stories of their lives, from school adventures to budding romances, forging an unlikely bond in captivity. But hope flickers on the horizon as Tate and Rafe prepare to intervene, their arrival promising a dramatic showdown that could turn the tide. Invented elements like hidden messages scratched into the walls or faint sounds of approaching footsteps add layers of suspense, heightening the stakes for these young captives. Felicity Green, played by the talented Kennedy Garcia, stumbles upon a crucial item, a ring deliberately left behind by Holly as a breadcrumb trail. In a scene brimming with innocence and urgency, Felicity hands it over to Tate, her wide-eyed excitement contrasting the gravity of the situation. Tate, piecing together the puzzle, quickly relays this discovery to Rafe, imagining how this small token could unlock the path to rescue. The ring, perhaps engraved with a personal inscription from Holly's family, becomes a symbol of resilience and clever thinking in the midst of chaos. Given that Felicity discovered the ring in the vicinity of a local gym, a spot teeming with after-school activities and hidden corners, Tate speculates it could pinpoint the area where Holly and Ari are being held. He envisions the gym's echoing halls and nearby alleys as potential hiding spots, narrowing the search grid significantly. This clue energizes Tate, who recalls similar investigative moments from Salem's storied past, like the time a lost locket led to a major breakthrough in another case, fueling his determination to press forward. Naturally, Rafe Hernandez is several moves ahead, thanks to the resourceful Kat Green, embodied by Annalyn McCord, who leverages her extensive ISA connections to gather intelligence. The ISA, a shadowy network of international agents with a history of tackling Salem's most intricate crimes, provides Kat with access to surveillance data and insider tips that Rafe couldn't obtain alone. This collaboration adds a layer of intrigue, as Kat's involvement might stem from her own undisclosed ties to the town's underbelly, blending personal motives with professional duty. Armed with a solid lead on the location. A rundown building on the outskirts of Salem, perhaps disguised as an old storage facility, Rafe feels increasingly confident. Spoilers indicate that Tate's additional clue reinforces their strategy, like fitting the final piece into a complex jigsaw puzzle. They might incorporate new elements, such as coordinating with undercover contacts or using advanced tracking devices borrowed from ISA resources, ensuring their approach is both precise and stealthy. As Tate and Rafe execute the climactic phases of this rescue endeavor, Salem erupts in a wave of additional conflict scattered across its picturesque yet perilous landscape. From heated arguments in the town square to simmering rivalries in dimly lit pubs, these hostilities reflect the broader unrest gripping the community. Characters like Xander and Philip Kiriakis clash over old grudges, while Leo and Gwen's sibling-like feud escalates into a public spectacle, adding fuel to the town's already blazing drama. These side stories weave into the main narrative, illustrating how one crisis can ripple outward, affecting everyone in unexpected ways. Next. A day of doubt and discovery. The morning sun hung low over the quaint town of Salem, casting long shadows across the cobblestone side street where Chad DiMera found himself face to face with an unsettling feeling. It wasn't just the crisp autumn air that sent a shiver down his spine, it was something about Kat, his old friend, and the way she moved with a purpose that seemed heavier than usual. Her tabby brown eyes, usually bright with mischief, held a flicker of something else today. Something guarded, secretive. Chad couldn't quite put his finger on it, but as he watched her guide her daughter, Felicity, toward the community center for gymnastics camp, his gut told him something was amiss. Chad had just dropped off his own daughter, Charlotte, at the same camp. It was her second time attending, and he hoped she was finding some joy in the tumbling and twirling. At 8 years old, Charlotte was a bundle of energy, but her shy nature made new experiences daunting. Chad lingered on the sidewalk, watching as Felicity, a lanky teenager with a confident stride, disappeared through the glass doors of the center. Kat turned to him, her smile warm but tinged with a distraction that Chad couldn't ignore. "Hey, good to see you," Kat said, adjusting the strap of her oversized tote bag. "Felicity's so excited for camp. How's Charlotte holding up?" Chad shrugged, his hands stuffed into the pockets of his jacket. "She's managing. Second time's the charm, right? I just hope she's having fun and not overthinking it." Kat nodded, her gaze drifting toward the community center's entrance. "Felicity's been talking about it non-stop. She's got her heart set on mastering a backflip by the end of the week. They stood there for a moment, the conversation light but tinged with an unspoken tension. Chad couldn't shake the feeling that Kat was holding something back. Her fingers fidgeted with the zipper on her bag, and her eyes darted toward her phone every few seconds. He wanted to ask what was wrong, but before he could, Kat spoke up. "I can take Charlotte home after camp if you want," she offered, her tone casual but her eyes searching his face for a reaction. "It's no trouble." Chad hesitated. It wasn't that he didn't trust Kat, she'd been a friend for years, and their kids got along like sisters, but something about the offer felt off. Maybe it was the way she avoided his gaze, or maybe it was the promise he'd made to Charlotte that morning, "I'll be right here when you're done, kiddo." He couldn't break that, not when Charlotte was counting on him to be her anchor in a world that sometimes felt too big for her. "Thanks, but I've got it," Chad said, offering a small smile to soften the rejection. "I promised Charlotte I'd be here." Kat's smile faltered for a split second, and Chad caught it. A flash of hurt, or maybe suspicion. "You don't have to explain," she said quickly, waving a hand. "I get it. Dads and their promises, right?" There it was again, that undercurrent of something unspoken. Chad's instincts, honed from years of navigating Salem's tangled web of secrets, told him Kat was reading too much into his refusal. Did she think he didn't trust her with the kids? The thought gnawed at him, and before he could stop himself, he blurted out, "Hey, why don't we grab a coffee while we wait? There's that new place in the square. We can catch up." Kat's expression softened, and she nodded. "Yeah, that sounds nice. Let's do it." The town square was bustling with mid-morning activity. Shoppers milled about, clutching reusable tote bags filled with produce from the farmer's market, while retirees sat on benches, sipping coffee and swapping stories. Chad and Kat settled at an outdoor table at Brood Awakening, a cozy cafe with wrought iron chairs and a chalkboard menu boasting seasonal lattes. The scent of roasted coffee beans mingled with the crisp autumn air, and for a moment, the world felt simple, unburdened by whatever shadows Kat seemed to carry. They ordered black coffee for Chad, a chai latte for Kat, and fell into an easy rhythm, chatting about the chaos of their lives. Chad talked about the endless demands of his job at the Salem Spectator, where he juggled deadlines and a rotating cast of reporters. Kat, meanwhile, shared stories about Felicity's latest milestone, learning to drive. "She's got the confidence of a race car driver but the parking skills of a toddler," Kat said with a laugh, stirring her latte. "I'm just praying she doesn't dent my car before she gets her license." Chad chuckled, but his mind wandered back to that nagging feeling. Kat's laughter was genuine, but her eyes kept drifting to her phone, which sat face up on the table. He was about to ask if everything was okay when his own phone buzzed. It was Leo, one of his reporters, calling with an urgent update. "Chad, I'm stuck on jury duty," Leo's voice crackled through the line, laced with his usual dramatic flair. "I can't cover the trial today. Tell me you've got someone else." Chad sighed, rubbing his temple. The trial was a big story. A high-profile case that had Salem buzzing. But the Spectator had a deep bench of reporters, and Chad wasn't about to let Leo's absence derail them. "It's fine, Leo. We've got plenty of people to cover it. Just focus on not charming the entire jury, okay?" Leo laughed, and Chad hung up, shaking his head. When he looked up, he noticed Kat watching him, her expression unreadable. "Everything okay?" she asked. "Yeah, just work stuff," he said, waving it off. "You know how it is." Kat nodded, but before she could respond, her phone lit up with a call from someone named James Smith. Her face tightened, and she stood abruptly. "I need to take this. Be right back." She stepped away, her voice low as she spoke into the phone. Chad couldn't hear the conversation, but he caught the urgency in her posture, the way her shoulders tensed, the way her free hand gestured sharply. When she returned, her smile was forced, and her eyes were clouded with worry. "Everything okay?" Chad asked, echoing her earlier question. Kat hesitated, then said, "I need to run an errand. Can you pick up Felicity and Charlotte from camp? I'll owe you one." "No problem," Chad said, though his voice betrayed his unease. "Is everything all right?" "Yeah, just work stuff," Kat said, mimicking his earlier dismissal. But as she grabbed her bag and hurried off, Chad couldn't shake the feeling that she was hiding something big. Later that day, the pieces of the puzzle began to fall into place, though not in a way that brought Chad any comfort. He'd picked up Felicity and Charlotte from camp, their chatter about cartwheels and balance beams filling the car with a lightness that contrasted sharply with the weight on his mind. As he dropped Felicity off at Kat's house, his phone buzzed with a text from Rafe, a detective with the Salem PD and a mutual friend. "Got the pics? Can Kat use her ISA resources to locate them?" "It's an emergency." Chad's brow furrowed. ISA resources? Kat had worked with the International Security Alliance years ago, but as far as he knew, she'd left that life behind to focus on raising Felicity. What kind of emergency would pull her back in? And what pictures was Rafe talking about? He didn't have time to dwell on it. Rafe called later that evening, his voice tight with frustration. "I'm editing the pictures now," he said. "Sean and I had a run-in with Doug and Tate at the station." Things got heated. Chad leaned against his kitchen counter, the day's events swirling in his mind. "What happened?" Rafe sighed. Sean questioned the guy, but he didn't say much. Tate should have spoken up sooner, and now Doug's caught in the middle. Sean didn't arrest him, but he had to ask questions. It's a mess. Chad's mind raced. Doug and Tate were involved in whatever this was? And Kat had called Rafe after everyone left, saying she had a location. A location for what? The pictures? The person they were questioning? The more he learned, the less it made sense. As he hung up, Chad stared out the window at the darkening sky. Kat's guarded demeanor, the urgent phone call, the ISA connection, it all pointed to something bigger than a busy day or a simple errand. He thought of Charlotte, asleep upstairs, and Felicity, probably texting her friends about gymnastics camp. Whatever Kat was tangled up in, Chad hoped it wouldn't touch their kids. But deep down, he knew Salem had a way of pulling everyone into its secrets, whether they wanted to be involved or not. For now, all he could do was wait, and keep an eye on Kat. Because something was definitely wrong, and Chad DiMera wasn't the type to let a mystery go unsolved.